Hello. Right, can you hear me? I get the feeling that I forgot to press the audio button on that promo, so you're going to have to stick around later and I'll play it again. But if anybody's in the room now, if you can kind of let me know that you can, number one, see me, and number two, that you can hear me. You'll probably notice that I'll be looking up a few times. I've got a different setup to last time. Before I had the screens side by side, so you just see me doing this quite a bit. Now I'm doing this because I've got it mounted just above me. But if somebody can say no audio here either. Fran, can you hear me? Can anybody hear me? Oh, thank God for that. Oh, you had me scared then. You said no audio. Trying to get used to this delay is kind of playing with my mind. This isn't good. Anyway, right. Quick sip of water. And just like I said last time, make sure I put that's over the side and well out the way. Okay, so thank you for coming along to my, I think this is the third live broadcast. I'm really enjoying this. I kind of hope that you folks are. I hope the audio is sounding good. I've got a new setup now with a mixer, so it's looking like the Starship Enterprise here at the moment. But hopefully it's kind of sounding good and it's looking good for you as well, because I want to try and make these as good as possible. But yeah, first of all then, before I show you these 5 Photoshop techniques, I've called them my favourite techniques. To be honest with you, there's so many that I could put in my favourite techniques bracket. This is just 5 that I want to show you. So we'll get to those in a second. Before we do though, let me just show you this, because you remember last week, last week I mentioned there was a competition to win a copy of my new book, Photograph Like a Thief. I just turn that there. That's now obviously been released, and last week I said that if you left a comment, I'd go through the comments that were posted and randomly pick. It was more a case of just scrolling with my eyes closed and stopping, and where my cursor was, that was the winner. But the winner we've got, and I hope I pronounce this correctly, is Whackim Parchment. Now I've sent Whackim a message. Hopefully he'll get that message, but if he doesn't and he's watching this, Whackim, if you're watching this, get in touch with me on my email address, glyn@glyndewis.com, and then I'll be able to send you a copy of this through as well. So I don't care where you are in the world, you'll get a copy of this. Now I have got some more copies of this. I'm going to give one more away today, and I'll give you the details of how you can win that later on. But I guess while you're here is to have a look at some of these techniques. So let me now just dive over to my desktop and the webcam. Clever stuff this. Right, you have a fun, Moose Peterson, you have a funny accent but sound. Thank you, Moose. Actually, folks, keep an eye on the website very soon, because you're going to see something advertised that Moose and myself are going to be doing on the 12th and 13th of August. I've kind of stopped doing workshops as a rule, but I'm doing one event this year, and it's going to be one big event, and it's with Moose. So keep an eye on the website and also social media, both mine and Moose's, for what's coming up. But let's now dive in and show you some of these techniques. So, right, we're in Photoshop. Hopefully you can see Photoshop. Let's just dive in first of all. And like I said, these techniques, it's a real random selection of techniques that I wanted to show you. And we'll start off with something to do with cutouts, because cutouts in Photoshop is one of those things that can be, well, it can be a little bit challenging sometimes. Obviously, Adobe update Photoshop regularly. There's lots and lots of techniques that we can use for doing cutouts, but you'll tend to find they'll be your favourite ways. We've got Refine Edge. I've shown you in an earlier video how you can bring that back if you don't like the new select and mask. But I want to show you now with this one here. This is a picture I've done of my mate Dave Clayton. There will never be a tutorial on this, because I would never be able to make that face look like that again. It was spending about half an hour in Liquify trying to make Dave's face look like that. There's covered in the book, but even things like here, his jowls. See, I've got the jowls here. Dave's not at the age or the stage in life where he's got jowls yet. So just so you know, that to get those here, these jowls, I just made a selection of his mouth and flipped it and twice and blended them in. So that's just that one thing there. But the thing I want to show you with regards to the first one, this cutouts, is this. If I just hold down the shift key and click on the layer mask to show you, this is how the picture was before I wanted to do the cutout. So once I'd done the cutout, which was kind of easy because the body was against that kind of nice bright background, the hair was a little bit challenging, but I've managed to do it. However, here's one thing that some of you may encounter when you have cutouts. And let me just show. I'm going to add a blank layer below the cutout of Dave, and just for argument's sake, I'll just fill it with black just to show you what I mean. And what I mean by this is this is the thing that a lot of people encounter. Can you see, if I zoom in, can you see this kind of fringing here? You've done a really great cutout, but there's this kind of brightness going around the outside, almost like a halo. And you'll find that it's in other parts. Let's just zoom out just a touch. We've definitely got it in this area here. And you can see it a little bit on the legs as well. And certainly if we go up to his man area, just there, you can see there's that little bit of fringing. Now, what I used to do was just get something like, click onto the layer mask, get a black brush, and then I would come in, I'd make the brush nice and small, and then I would come in and I'd just kind of like paint it off. But that was really tedious. So I want to show you a very quick way that you can get rid of that kind of halo or that fringing going around your cutouts. Let's just double click on the hand tool to go back to full screen. So this is what you want to do, and this will sell you on always using a layer mask when you're doing your cutting out. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to click on the layer mask. So you can see now over in the layers panel, it's got this kind of like frame around it now to say that that is now active. Then I'm going to get my lasso tool, and all I'm going to do is make a very loose selection going around Dave like this. Now the hair, I don't need to do it. There's no kind of halo or anything on that. So I'm going to go just across his shoulders, under that thing called a nose, and just join it together just there. So now you can see we've got the marching ants going around Dave. So Photoshop is being told, ignore everything else outside of these marching ants. Now, here's the important thing you need to do. You're then going to go to the filter menu, choose blur, and go to Gaussian blur. And in here, all you need to do, that's my doorbell going if you heard it. All you need to do now, where it says pixel radius here, just put an amount of 1. That's all you need to do, and click OK. And that is a really important step, because what that's going to do is when we now get rid of that fringing, if we hadn't added any blur, the outline of Dave would be incredibly sharp. So when you put him into a new scene, it just wouldn't look right. So by adding that 1 pixel radius of blur, it's going to help him to kind of fit into the background that he eventually goes into. But here now is how we can get rid of the fringing. Let's just zoom in. Best place to show you is maybe just on this arm bit here. Now I'm going to get a levels adjustment, but I'm not going to use a levels adjustment layer. This is important. I'm going to go to the image menu, choose adjustments, and then choose levels. And here we've got the blacks, midtones, and the whites. Now watch what happens when I grab the black slider and drag it into the middle. Watch the halo here, the outline going where the arm is. So I'm going to click on the blacks and start to bring it in. Start to bring it a little bit further, and about there, and it's gone. Can you see that? So this is before and this is after. And you'll notice now, if we kind of click OK on that, if we zoom around the rest of the picture, I could just paint out a tiny little bit there, but you see on his legs it's all gone. There is now no halo, no fringing at all going around his body. It's just Control or Command D to get rid of that selection there. So basically what we're doing there, it's a really quick and effective way of getting rid of that halo. But to break it down, what's actually happening is, when we use that level slider, we increase the blacks. Now we're on the layer mask, right? So the layer mask is black on the outside, and the visible part, which is Dave, is white. When we drag the black slider over, we're making the blacks in that mask get bigger and bigger and bigger. And as it does that, it crushes down on the outside of Dave. So as it comes in, it goes over and hides that halo. So that's all you're basically doing. Because you're using a layer mask, you're now hiding that halo. So I hope that's useful. Just one quick one for you to start off with. Let's have a quick look in the comments. We're getting on. Magic, mind blown. Alex, you're a star. Thank you very much. Chris Fields, my mate Chris Fields. How you doing, buddy? Chris Fields is in the chat room, and he's a guy who runs CHNO Technology. So, and I know a lot of my friends know Chris now, because whenever they've got problems with their technology, he's mainly a Mac, Apple kind of guy, but his knowledge on other technology is just insane. The guy knows way too much. So if you don't know Chris, definitely hook up with him. CHNO Technology. I'll probably put his details in the description of the video. Right, okay. Let's have a look at another technique. Now, today, if you've been looking over on social media, you'll have seen that I've posted a link back to a video which I've actually recorded a couple of years ago, but for some bizarre reason it seems to be getting quite a lot of follows or views at the moment. And it's using this picture here to show, and it shows how I actually cut the tree out of the background. Now again, like I said before, there are so many ways that you can do cutouts, selections and whatever in Photoshop. This is just one way, but it's kind of a technique I want to show you with a few other extra little ones thrown in for good measure as well. Now if I zoom in, you can see that there's a lot to this tree. This picture here, this was actually given to me by my friend Aaron Blaze, who's this incredible artist. He gave me this tree, this acacia tree, so I could use it in some of my animal project pictures. But you can see here we've got all this detail in the tree, lots of fine detail, all these little branches and leaves and what have you. So to cut it out for this particular video, what I actually used was colour range, and that's been around Photoshop since, I think, Photoshop, to be honest with you. But let's just show you how we can use it. We go to the select menu and I'm going to choose colour range. Now when we use colour range, we've got this really antique looking preview box here, which is black and white. And basically what this means is wherever is white is what you're selecting, wherever is black is what you're not selecting. So pretty much like using a mask. Now the way we use this is we use our cursor. When we bring our cursor into our picture, you can see it comes down to like a colour sampler. So wherever I click, Photoshop will then say, right, you want this colour underneath your cursor. Where else in the picture is a similar colour to that? And then you see that also being selected. And that's shown up as being white in this preview. So you can see when I click over the sky, you can see the areas of the sky click up. When I click on the ground, you can see the areas of the ground will click up. But we want to actually cut the tree out. So the main part is going to be the leaves and the branches. So if I click on the tree branches just here, you can see now in this preview, we're starting to get a lot of the tree coming through. So what I can also do now is if I hold down my shift key, I don't know if you'll see it on your screen, but there's a little plus icon that comes next to the colour sampler. So now I click and I drag over the branches and the leaves here, because they're not all going to be the same exact kind of green. There'll be a few variations in there. So by me holding my shift key down and dragging over it, it's going to pick up a lot of them. And you can see now in the preview, the tree has gone pretty much white and the ground has as well. Now in here, in this preview, in this kind of properties box, if you like, there's a fuzziness slider. I've no idea why it's called fuzziness. It's just one of those weird names that have been given to it. Maybe this should be called range or something like that, because what this allows you to do is once you've pretty much made a selection of the area or dragged over the area that you want to select, when you use this fuzziness slider, you're basically saying to Photoshop, as you drag it over to the right hand side, can you give me just a few more colours that are fairly similar to what I dragged over the top of? And you'll see that as I do that, more areas are going to start to get included, but the downside is we start to see some of the sky coming in as well, and it starts to look a bit funky. So let me just back off just a little bit to around about, let's say there. Then I'll click OK. Now when I click OK, Photoshop goes ballistic. I'm just having a quick look in the old greetings from Devon. Steve Healy, you rubbing it in that you live in Devon. You know we want to live there. Anyway, right now, so now you can see all the marching ants all over the tree and all over the floor. Now we don't want them anywhere else other than on the tree. So to get rid of all of them down at the bottom here, I'm going to use my lasso tool again, but this time I'm going to hold down the Option key on Mac or Alt key on PC to get the minus icon, and I'm going to drag across here. So include just down the branch, down the trunk, a little bit of that trunk there, and then across to the right, and then all the way underneath, and all the way back on itself like so. And look what happens when I let go. All the selected areas that are on the grass have gone. The only selected areas now are on the tree. So to cut this out, I'm going to use a layer mask, like I said in the first tutorial. Use a layer mask and we'll click like so. Now it zooms in. When we zoom in, it's not done a bad job, but I think we need to add a little bit of a colour beneath it just so you can see a bit clearer. So I'll hold down the Command or Control key, click on the new layer icon. That adds a layer beneath, and we'll fill that with white so you can see not too bad. Now let's have a look at the layer mask, see how things are looking in there, see how good it really is. And we go into here. Now not too bad. You can see that we've picked up loads of detail in the branches. There's a little bit of something weird going on over the right hand side here. There's a bit of grey. Let's zoom in and show you that. A little bit of grey over here right next to where the branches are. Now let me show you how you can get rid of that. We're going to use what is custom key for repeat. What you use, Matt. I'll get back to that in a moment, Amit. Right, let's just get rid of this grey over in the black area here. Well, I'm going to get a brush by pressing B. My foreground colour is black. But then what I'm going to do is at the top of the screen here, whenever we use a tool, we get unique options specific for that particular tool. And one of the options I have when I'm using a brush is mode or blend mode. So I'm going to change the blend mode from normal to overlay. And what this now allows me to do, it allows me to paint with this brush, but when I paint, it'll only affect the grey areas. So watch this, painting with a brush in black. We'll come over to this grey area over here, and as I paint, you see how that grey goes? But the great thing is, even though my brush look is over the tree, which is white, it's not affecting it. So it's a great way of tidying up your layer masks, like so. Like that. Now another great way we can use it as well is, I've just used it with black to get rid of the grey. Let me now maybe try and make the actual white part of the mask even more dense, so we pick up even more of those trees and leaves, branches and leaves. I'm going to change the actual brush colour here to white. So now I'm going to come in and paint over the tree, and you can probably see as I'm doing that, can you see how it's building up the density of that white in the layer mask, really starting to make it stand out, like so. A little bit of grey on this side, so I'll change that to black. So I press X to flip to black and tidy that up. Now let's just come out of the layer mask, hold down the Option key on Mac, Alt key on PC, click on the layer mask, and there we go. So now we've got a nice cutout. Now one other little thing you can do, if you find that the leaves still aren't looking quite dense enough, and maybe there's a little bit of transparency in the branches and on the trunk, what you can then do is just come in and actually hold down your Command or Control key and press J to create a copy. And every time you create a copy, it's going to add to the density and start to build up, so it looks like there's more and more leaves. Now it's just, now the top one's selected, I'll hold on the Shift key, click on the first, whoops, do that, click on the first one, and then I'll just go merge layers. So now we have our tree cut out. So I hope that's useful. I'll put a link in the description part of this video just so that you can see that one in slow time, because I appreciate we are going through this quite quickly. But yeah, another one there for you. Now let me just take a quick sip of water away from the computer, and while I do that, I'll just quickly let that run there. Blimey, that was quick. So it's only a quick one. Right, okay, let's move on. Right, let's get rid of that one there. And I'll show you, let's just bring this down, bring my cursor into here, and we'll get rid of that. Now we don't want to save it, and go for another one. Now, this one is a bit of a, I wouldn't say really technique, it's just to kind of remind you that something is out there. Something that you can use that you may not have realised. And what I mean by that is, Photoshop, now that we've got the Creative Cloud, is updated so often that things get put into it. It seems like almost every other day. And when something new comes in, we're like, yes, I love that. But then more updates come and we kind of forget about the things that have been introduced, and they get buried down in filters. We completely forget about them. Now, what I want to show you here, this is a picture that I did of my friends Mac and a guy called Sam from the Bearded Villains. I'm not going to show you how I retouched it, but I'm going to show you one little area of it that I needed to correct before I carried on with the retouching. So let me just take you to a stage here where we've got the picture before I started doing the retouching on it. And I'll zoom in and show you what I mean that I needed to do. Now, over this side here, we've got Mac, and you can see that Mac, hopefully you can see it on your screen, Mac is really nice and razor sharp. His eyes are in focus, his beard hair is in focus, everything's looking pin sharp. Now, I have no idea what happened, but when I was photographing Sam at the same time, we had quite a good aperture. I think we're like 5.6. They're both on the same focal plane, but for some bizarre reason, Sam was not quite as sharp, and I'm kind of hoping you can see that with his eyes here. So what I'll show you now is how you can correct that and also make the beard hair in focus and what have you. Because the reason I thought of doing this one was because I've been to a few camera clubs. I did a few presentations for an organisation called the Guild of Photographers, my good friend Nick and Steve over there. And one of the things, when they were doing portfolio reviews, one of the things when they zoomed in on members' pictures, a lot of the times, although they look great really small, when they zoomed into 100%, there was areas of them that just weren't in focus. So obviously it's good to look at your pictures at 100% to check that. But there were some of them that you think, oh, if only they'd known about this, they could have maybe rescued it. Obviously, there's nothing better than getting it right in camera. But if there's something that you can maybe fix just a little bit that could save a picture, then I'm all for it. And let me just show you how we do that. Awesome beards, Matt Palmer. Yeah, nothing like this, really. I don't think my wife would let me grow one as big as that, but hey. Right, let me show you how we can correct this. So, over in the Layers panel, I'm going to hold down my Command or Control key and press J to create a copy, and we'll be nice and tidy. And let's just call this in focus. There we go. Right, so now then, just to show you where it is, I'm going to use a filter. Now, when we use filters, if we're good boys and girls, we would use Convert for Smart Filters. So let's just take it for red that I've done that. I'm not going to do it for now. But then we're going to go down to the Sharpen menu and then Shake Reduction. And this is, I think this is just incredible, absolutely incredible. If I just go to the magnifier, let's just zoom in just a touch. Now what this is, whoops, not that far. What this is actually going to do, let's go back out to there. What this is actually going to do, you can see this little triangle in the top right hand corner. Now what it's now doing is it's analysing the picture to say, right, where is out of focus? What do we need to work on to try and realign? Now the funny thing is, although we've got all these kind of sliders over on the right hand side, I never, or very, very rarely, ever touch them. I tend to find that the default settings do absolutely wonders just as they are. So now then, I've just left the settings as they are. The yellow triangle is gone. Now that it's gone, I'm just going to click OK. And now look, if I turn that layer on and off, look at the difference in Sam. Look at his eyes, look at his hair. But obviously what that's done is at the moment it's sharpened the whole picture. Mac over on the left hand side was already sharp, so I don't want him to be sharpened. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a layer mask, and I'm going to hold down my Option key on Mac or Alt key on PC, then click on the layer mask icon at the bottom of the layers panel. When I do that, it automatically adds a black layer mask. So now the sharpening or the actual realigning of that picture has now been hidden, so that all I'm going to do now is use a brush to paint it in where I want it to be. So we'll zoom in on Mac, sorry, zoom in on Sam. I'm going to get a brush. I'll change the foreground colour to white, and I'm going to change the mode here, just take it back to normal. So now all I'm going to do is just paint over his eyes, and we'll paint over his beard like this. I don't know how, I think Adobe employed fairies to be able to make this kind of stuff, but I might take the opacity of that down to maybe 70%, so it's not quite so strong. But now look, when I bring Mac and Sam literally side by side, maybe take it down just a touch more, you can see now Mac's eyes sharp, his beard sharp, and so's Sam. So it was a real save. It really saved this picture for me, because without that, I was pretty disappointed. But then I remembered, we've got shape reduction, we can actually fix it. So this is one of those times when, of course, it's good to get things right in camera for the first, when you're doing the pictures, but Photoshop can really save you when it comes to doing stuff like this. So if you'd forgotten about that one, or you never knew it, then great, you've learned something new there. Right, how are we getting on? Is this tool in CS6, Glyn? Viva, I'd have to check. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's only a CC. Maybe somebody in the group can let us know that. I'm not too sure, but I will find out for you, and I'll let you know when we actually Ryan. Yes, that was shake reduction in the sharpen menu. Top tip on correcting eyes. Cheers, Stephen. Right, so that's that one. We're racing through these. Let me show you another one. Okay, so we don't want to save that. If anybody is asking comments in particular, I'll kind of like maybe spend, I don't know, a couple of minutes or so quickly scouting through them at the very end to sort of answer those if I can. But if I don't get to them, I'll always reply on the comments on YouTube after this is uploaded anyway. So let's open another picture here. Let's show you something else. Now this is one that you'll have seen me talking about quite a lot, because this really is a huge part of my workflow at the moment. And I do still get questions from people saying, how have you done that background? How expensive was that background? Where did you get it from? So I just want to use this opportunity just to repeat how I actually create these fake canvas backgrounds. I used to call them fake Oliphant backgrounds. The company that make these, based in America, they're called Oliphant, based in New York, and they're not cheap. They're about $700, I think, something like that. There's a company in the UK called Gravity Backdrops. They do another similar kind of thing. But again, you get what you pay for, but they're not cheap. Now, I don't use those because I don't have my own studio. And if I was going to be using a canvas, I'd have to keep taking it down and putting it up, and it would be really creased every single time, so it'd be a nightmare. So this is how I want to show you how you can do that. This is just a reminder for those of you who don't actually know how to do this. So let me just tell, this is, by the way, this is Stefan, who's a model I photographed when I was doing the out in the Netherlands recently at the Professional Imaging show. Great show. If you ever get the chance to go to that one. I'm actually going to be photographing hopefully Stefan again in a couple of weeks at Frank Doorhoff's studio, recording a tutorial, full-length tutorial showing how you can kind of recreate the look of Vogue and Vanity Fair and all those kind of magazine covers. So keep an eye out for that. Right, let's just delete these ones here. So this is the stage here where I'm going to put the background in. Now the background, well, let's just get rid of this time machine thing. Louise Dobson, yes it is, but that's not an excuse to leave the room. Right, so the textures that I use, they literally come from everything, from anywhere. They're taken using my iPhone. You know, phones these days, they're just basically cameras that you can actually make phone calls on. The quality is superb. Now I keep loads of textures that I photographed with my phone in a folder on my Creative Cloud just here. So you can see lots and lots of different textures. You don't have to keep them on there if you're not using the cloud. Just keep them on a folder on your computer. But very quickly, to show you how you can create that fake canvas, expensive looking background, all you need to do is add the canvasy texture that you've got there, or any texture, drag it on top of your picture. So I'm going to hold down my Alt key. In fact, I won't do first of all. Let me just drag it over on top of the picture like so. Okay, so like that, and all I'm going to do is stretch it out. You don't have to worry about these being perfect because they're only going to be used as a background, and you can use a blend mode to kind of attach them to it. So don't worry about stretching them and all this kind of stuff. Now, the one thing to do when you've got the texture on the very top of your layer stack, you're going to use a blend mode. But if your texture has got any kind of color in it whatsoever, get rid of it, because when you attach it to that grey paper background, it's going to look awful if you've got colour in it. So the way you do that is this: just go to Image, Adjustments, and then you would click on Desaturate. But can you see now how it's greyed out and we can't actually click it? That's because over in the Layers panel, I dragged this texture directly out of my Creative Cloud library. And when we do that, it kind of makes it like a smart object. You can probably see there's like a little icon in the bottom right hand corner, which is a cloud. So it's a cloud object. And when it is one of those, it stops you from being able to do certain things. One of them is desaturating it. There'll also be some filters that aren't available to it. So here's what you need to do. If you're going to take it out of the cloud library and add it onto your picture, just hold down your Option key or your Alt key and then drag it over and drop it on top of your picture. So you can see it fills the canvas there, but look over in the Layers panel, there's nothing now, no icon in the bottom right hand corner of that thumbnail there to show that this is just a box standard simple layer. So now I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, and where are we? Desaturate. So you can see the colour's completely gone, and then you can play around. Let's just close that down. You can play around with the blend modes. Overlay, we'll do it like this. We've got soft light as well, is one that you could use. Just experiment with them, but I generally kind of flip between overlay and soft light. Overlay will give it a little bit more contrast if you want that kind of a look. But once you've got it in there, can you notice now how the texture is on the background? It's looking really good, but it's also on Stefan. So all you need to do there, and again, this is just a reminder, is add a layer mask, get a brush, black foreground color, and then just come in and paint it off Stefan. Let's just flip that colour around just there, and we'll paint it off. Now, it can be difficult sometimes to see where you've painted, so all you can do with that one is just hold down, or press down rather, the / key, and you get this red overlay. That shows you where you've painted. So now you can actually visually see, and I love that, being able to visually see where I've painted off, or maybe actually painted too much off it. So let's flip the colour just there, and we'll take that off just on that bit as well. So this is just a reminder, a quick one just as a reminder, because I have had a few emails lately asking people, or people asking me, where did I get that really expensive canvas from? It literally was a bit of concrete out on the road. Photographed it, put it into my cloud library, and I just use it as a background. So that's that one there. Okay, how are we getting on for comments? Who wants to watch Champions League when this is on? Will, top man. Mark Harris, good to see you here, buddy. How was your holiday? Right, okay, last one, then we'll get to some questions as well, so I'm going to save that. Now this one I love. I absolutely love this. Let me show you this picture first of all. This is again in the book. I'll show you. Actually, I think this was in my earlier book, Photoshop workbook. This was a picture as formed part of my animals project. And it's a composite. I've never been on a safari yet. It's in my bucket list. But the background is all made up from parts near me. The field was near where I used to live. The trees, you'll recognise the acacia tree on the right hand side. That's the one we cut out in the second tutorial. The two giraffes were photographed at a local wildlife park. They weren't together, they were separate. But if I just show you what the picture was like before I got to finish it all off with the colour and stuff like that. If it just opens it up, can you see now? Here I've actually got it where I've dropped in the baby giraffe here. Now, I guess I could have finished off the composite in, blending the feet into the grass there, then doing the colouring and left it like that. But for me, I wanted this picture to have a little bit more kind of, I don't know, maybe a little bit more of an emotion to it. And the reason I say that is because I just, at the time of doing this one, I remember I just heard of a guy called Nick Brandt, and he's somebody that if you watched the live broadcast last week when I was talking about the new book, I mentioned Nick and the incredible pictures that he takes of animals out in Africa and the 3 books that he's done. Just wonderful things. And the thing about Nick Brandt's pictures is the actual connection that you have with the pictures, and the connection that if there's 2 animals or more in it, the connection that they have with each other. There's a real emotion to it. Now, when I look at this picture, I didn't really see much emotion, and it could be so simple to change that just using one little thing in Photoshop. And I want to show you that now, how I used it on this picture. But when I show it you, I want you to think of pictures that you've got that would be the kind of pictures that you've got. They're thinking, God, this would be perfect if only that person's head was straight, or if only their arm wasn't bent in that particular way, or maybe they weren't so crooked. Just something about the position of a person, or maybe even an object, that you just wish if only it had been positioned a little bit better. I want to show you now this technique I used on the giraffe. Think about the pictures you've got where you could use this one. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give this picture a bit more kind of emotion. And what I want to do is have the actual baby giraffe and the mother giraffe looking at each other. A real connection, kind of the Nick Brandt influence there with the emotion in the picture. So here's what I'm going to do. So over in the layers panel, we've got our picture here where I've composited the adult giraffe into this grass. We've then got a cutout of the baby giraffe. And I'll show you what that was originally like if I just turn the layer mask off. So you can see there's the baby giraffe just there. Hold the shift key down and click on the layer mask to reveal it back to where it was there. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to use quick mask. So I'm going to use Puppet Warp. Now we find Puppet Warp, again, this is one of those things that was introduced way back, but people forget it's there, but it's incredibly handy. I'm going to go to the edit menu and choose Puppet Warp. Now, again, when you use the Puppet Warp, like any other tool, there'll be certain things that come across that options bar at the top that are unique to that particular tool. When you choose to use the Puppet tool, one thing you have to do is put a little tick where it says Show Mesh. Let me just zoom in, just a little thing here. So that's before and that's after. Actually, you don't have to do that. I just think it looks really cool. It just looks really geeky. So I'm all for that. But while we've got that mesh there, once you're in Puppet Warp, here's what you need to do. You need to put a little press down with your cursor where there are limbs or where there are kind of joints to anchor them into place. So I'm going to put one first of all at the base of the baby giraffe's head, just about there. Then I'm going to put one at the base of its neck. I'm going to click down on this kind of shoulder joint here, and I'll click down on this hip joint just at the back just here. And I'll also put one just right by his mouth just there. Now let's get rid of this mesh so you don't get confused with what we've got here. Can you see these little pins now that have been dropped? These are like anchor points. These anchor points now, you can see these little pins, they're going to lock certain areas into place, because what this is now allowing me to do is this. If I bring my cursor and put it over the one, let's say by the giraffe's mouth, I can now start to bend the giraffe's head back like this. So rather than the giraffe's looking down to the floor, not really connecting with its mother, I can bring the head back and treat this baby giraffe here like a bit of a puppet, hence the name of the filter, to be able to sort of increase that connection between the two. So something like, let's say something like that would work. And then actually I want to straighten the neck out, so I'm going to put a little press down on his neck just there, and we'll straighten that neck just a little bit, just there like that. And I might put one just on the face, just to shape the face up just a bit better, like that. All right, let's just press the little tick icon at the bottom so we can see before and after. So we'll go before and after. We've got Control, Alt, and Z, or before and after, before and after. So it's only a real quick one, but again, it's just one of those little things that get inputted into, added into Photoshop, and because of all the updates that come in so often, we tend to forget about them, and they get buried way down deep in some filter. So yeah, always a good one to have. It may be able to rescue a picture, just take it from being average to being really good if you can maybe just change that emotion in there. So let's have a quick look over in the comments over here. I thought Puppet Warp was only in After Effects, my bread and butter. Awesome, that's in Photoshop as well. Yeah, Ryan, it's been there for a while, but you don't often see it being used. But as you can hopefully see in this example here, it really can change that picture. If I was only able to have that little baby giraffe's head pointing down, it wouldn't have had the impact that it had, and you can see that in the final picture just there. Real connection now between the mother and the baby. All right, so that's pretty much all I wanted to go through. How are we doing for time? I thought it'd be about half an hour. That's 36 minutes, so not too bad. So just a reminder, let's have a quick look. Go back up to my control panel over here. The winner again of the book was Whacking Parchment. I really do hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. So Whacking, get in touch with me wherever you're on the world. I will actually send the book out to you. What I want to do now, though, is show you. Have a look at that one. Look at that, do you? There we go. Here we go. Right. So, how can you win a copy of this book this particular time? So, all you need to do to win your own copy of this heavy book, this nice 408-page book, is this: just share this particular video or share a link to my YouTube channel. But when you share it across your social media platforms, just tag me in it so I know you've done it. So those of you who do that, I'll make a note of who's done it, and then I'll randomly pick one of them, and wherever you are in the world, I'll send you out a copy of this book. It's just a little bit of a thank you. Now, also one little thing to mention about the book: it's been fabulous getting emails and comments and stuff from people who are really enjoying it. This is kind of a bit of a plea from me to you, just to sort of say, look, if you really like it, and only if you like it, and let's say you got it from Amazon, somewhere like that, just pop onto Amazon, and if you've got the time, just drop me 1 or 2 lines just to say something nice about the book. I'd really appreciate it, and I know that Rocking Up the publishers would as well. But let's have a look. What else I want to tell you about? So we've done the prizes, we've done the winner. Yeah, subscribe to this channel. I hate the word subscribe. It should say favourite, really. So if you like this channel and what we're doing, just click on the old subscribe button, which is kind of making this video channel one of your favourites. Give this video a thumbs up. And join the email group. Let me just show you this little video that I put together just here. Here we go. Have a quick watch of this one here. So just click on the old subscribe button, which is on the YouTube channel there. And also over my website, glyndewis.com, join the email group just by clicking the icon at the top of the screen and just put your details in there. Now, of course, I won't go spamming the heck out of you. I wouldn't dare dream of doing that. It's just so that you can kind of... I keep pressing that. It's just so that I can keep up to date with all the new things that are coming on. The thing I mentioned that I'm doing with Moose, we'll be posting about it in the newsletter first there. Got some brand new tutorials I'm going to be recording very, very soon, and those will be advertised in that email group first with a discount. So it's a good reason to join up to there, but you certainly don't get spammed. But where I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, thank you very much. I hope that you're liking these live broadcasts. If you've got any comments, please make sure that you leave them in the comment section. I will get to them. But again, thanks so much for taking some time out of your evening. But yeah, thank you very much. And I'll leave you now. I'll put this one on with the sound, and I'll bid you goodbye. Hi, I'm Glyn Dewis, and I want to let you know about my brand new book, Photograph Like a Thief. Now, I truly believe that your own unique style starts with copying, because you have to have a starting point. But when I say copying, I mean looking at the work of other great photographers, their lighting, composition, posing, how they retouch their images, learning from it and going on to create something completely new. Now, I've packed a lot into this book. There's a whole chapter dedicated to reverse engineering, equipment, my favourite retouching techniques, and 10 chapters taking you from coming up with an idea, the lighting, the setup, the photo shoot, and the complete retouching steps from start to finish. So check out Photograph Like a Thief, available now where all good books are sold.